Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Great Shot, Kid, the show on the Nerd Party Network that focuses on the work of Star Wars creators. I am one of your hosts, John.
And I'm Mike.
And this week, we're going to be looking at Guillermo del Toro's comic book classic, Blade 2, or as it's listed in Amazon, Blade 2 Blood Hunt, which was not on any poster that I saw or in the credits.
It was I think that was originally what they were going to call it. By the time it came out, they had dropped the Blood Hunt from everything.
Gotcha.
But I remember my ticket stub said Blade 2 Blood Hunt on it.
No kidding.
Yes.
No kidding. All right, well, I don't remember that far back, sadly. But you want to give everybody a breakdown of what Blade 2 is all about?
Sure. Blade 2, it's the sequel to Blade. It stars Wesley Snipes as the Daywalker, a half-human, half-vampire guy who hunts vampires because he doesn't like them too much. And the vampires don't like him too much either since he keeps on killing them. But now there is something else which is running around, which is even deadlier than vampires, and it is feeding on vampires. So now the vampire team, the Blood Pack, needs to team up with Blade in order to take down the much larger threat. And a member of that Blood Pack is played by Donnie Yen.
Yes, the future Chirrut Imwe is among the Blood Pack.
Yeah, he plays Snowman.
Yes, he does. And he also did fight choreography on the film.
Yeah.
Especially, I think the scene that he's had the biggest hand in was the fight between Nomak and Blade in the church.
Mm-hmm.
That had all of the construction scaffolding in it. That was behind the club or something.
Yeah.
Because there's very much being a Guillermo del Toro type of thing, there's very much a lot of religious symbology worked in there and a lot of different visual cues that are very gothic and rich. And all of the buildings, and I did actually, I guess I didn't really pay attention to it the first time I saw it or even the second, but this time I really caught the fact that all of the vampire stuff was built on top of churches, including the Vampire HQ. I thought that was actually a really neat visual touch that inevitably Del Toro brought to it. But, I had not watched this in many, many years. I did see this in the theater. I remember seeing this in the theater. I remember my cousin Robert going with me and loving it. He thought it was great. He thought it was better than the first one, and I was decidedly more lukewarm. What was your reaction all those years ago?
I'm with your cousin. I enjoyed the first movie, but I think it was like one of those things where there was like one, really it was like just the opening sequence where I was like, this is amazing. And everything.
The opening sequence stands up too. It is one of the best opening sequences of one of these types of movies like ever.
You're talking about with the first one? I was talking about
the original Blade.
Yeah.
When he comes into the club and everything, and the music that's good, like it's brilliantly edited and paced and acted, and the fight choreography is insane. Yeah.
It was pretty great. And after that, I was just kind of like, I don't really care about the rest of this movie, So that was sort of. But Blade 2. I mean, the trailers and everything looked great, and I mean, I really think that Del Toro brought an energy to it, which was lacking in the first movie, and also a lot of humor and everything. And to me, Blade 2 is a standout. It's definitely the best of the franchise, and I think it's like one of the best comic book movies ever, and I think that it's Del Toro's best movie ever. So, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Blade 2.
I'm not going to say it's Del Toro's best movie ever, but I will say that this time watching it, maybe I'm just a different person now, maybe what have you, But I found myself, because I went into it ready. I've made a habit out of beating up on this movie through the years.
Yeah, you beat up on me for talking about liking it. You're like, how dare you say this movie's good? And I'm like looking around, because like all my friends and everything, we're of the mind that it's amazing, right? So like you talking about this movie being bad, this is like news to me. I'm like, there's people who don't like this movie? That's
in my
so
circle
weird.
of friends, I was not anomalous. I had most everybody that I saw, the best reaction to it was
Wow.
and except for my cousin Rob,
Yeah.
who loved it, who thought it was great. But this time watching it, I think you're right. I think Del Toro brought his energy to it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that the vampire clan stuff that was, hinted at and sort of fleshed out in the first one. I mean, basically, this is what sequels traditionally have done through time, which is they take the template of the first one and they say, let's just make it cooler and more streamlined. We know what we're doing now. And I very much got that vibe this time. And I really enjoyed it a heck of a lot more. And I just thought it was more even. I like the ending better. Definitely, I always like the ending of this one better than the original Blade. The original Blade was, that ending is just very like, it happens.
Yeah. Well, they had problems with that ending.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And with good reason. But like this one, it makes much more sense. I think that there's actually, as crazy as this might sound, there's more sense of restraint, that Del Toro knows where not to push. He knows the spots to push and the spots to let the audience bring their own thing. And I think that one of those things is the relationship between Blade and Nisa is very much, I mean, in a sense, it's sort of a forebear of what we're becoming used to, where there's an attraction between the male and the female lead, but there's no consummation of it. Like that was very much a staple of these sorts of movies and of 80s action movies. I mean, you go back to Highlander, there's a completely unnecessary sex scene thrown into it because that's just what was expected. I mean, even the original Terminator, it's like this, I mean, I guess it at least serves the plot, so that's a bonus, but like,
yeah, it's kind of hard to have a Terminator 2 without that, so yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. Or even a Terminator 1,
yeah.
But I mean, I'm talking about like the type of scene it was. It was like that. It was just to titillate. But so there's definitely a sense of restraint. I mean, long story short, I came out of it this time. I'm not ready to sing its praises, maybe on the scale of calling it a masterpiece, but I definitely enjoyed it more, and I would definitely go back and watch it again. And no lie, part of that is that they have, I mean, Ron Perlman's always great, but the people they have in the Blood Pack, including Donnie Yen, like Donnie Yen radiates this charisma. He's almost like a, like an early Schwarzenegger type of actor, where it's like it just comes off of him. Like you want to see more of him through the whole movie.
I don't think he has a single line of dialogue in this movie, does he?
I think he says maybe 2 words or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, but it is cool, and I mean, he was sort of, a star in Hong Kong, for his action, stuff at this point, and I know that he had come to. I remember when he came to America, and there were definitely some action fans out there who were very excited about him, coming over to the States for his first American movie, which was Highlander Endgame, by the way.
That's unfortunate.
I like Highlander Endgame, not nearly as much as Blade 2.
No,
but
nobody likes Highlander Endgame, Mike.
Even though he has a small role, it was kind of a similar role to the one that he had in Rogue One. He's part of the team. Certainly not as big, as Rogue One, but it is cool that they utilized his other talents, as a choreographer and stuff like that, in order to make the scenes that he wasn't in, cool, because the fight scenes in this movie are really, really good.
Well, and the thing that I like about them is there are different parts of them that all exhibit the different sensibilities of the people doing the choreography. Like I can tell based on seeing the first movie and then this one, I can tell what parts Snipes choreographed because he has taken martial arts, and so I can see those scenes. I'm like, okay, the stuff that he did is obviously much more practical in terms of the impact, which is crazy to say. It's a bunch of it's a vampire fighting vampires and their minions sort of thing, but he seems to really focus on the very up close and personal smash mouth stuff. And then you have Donnie Yen is very obviously what's termed as the wire fu type of stuff, like the fight between Nomak and Blade, where it's the falling off of the scaffolding and the punching as you fall sort of thing, and the close up stuff. So yeah, I mean that the fight scenes are really, really pretty spectacular.
Yeah, they are. I mean, there's a couple of moments which is really weird. I mean, I guess, well, this is probably Del Toro's biggest budget to date, right? I mean, up until now.
Pacific Rim, well, I mean, up to this point, sure,
Yeah.
but Pacific Rim's.
Oh, yeah, but I mean, up until Blade 2, like, he had done Mimic, which did not turn out as he had planned.
Yeah.
And then he had done, a number of Spanish language movies, which were obviously fairly small in scale.
Kronos is great, though.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
I'm
not a big fan of Kronos. I'm not a big fan of any of his Spanish language movies.
Really?
I mean, when I think about it,
Kronos was great.
The only Del Toro movie which I'm head over heels in love with is Blade 2. There's a number of them which I think are really good, but there's also a number where I'm like, that doesn't work. I mean,
See, for me, the one that I'm completely head over heels in love with is Pacific Rim.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good movie for sure.
Yeah.
We talked about that over on Trek.fm on Stage 9.
Yes, we did.
Check that out. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Pacific Rim's good, Hellboy is good, and everything. But the thing about it is, like, the reason why I bring it up is because I feel like this is, he had a budget, and he's like, I'm going to try out some of this CGI stuff, which maybe this is the movie that kind of turned him off of it, because he's kind of known for practical effects for the most part. I mean, obviously not in Pacific Rim, but there's like a couple sequences in this movie where he resorts to Matrix-style CGI doubles, and the results are maybe not the best in the world.
They don't hold up as well as I think they would have hoped.
No, they didn't hold up on opening night, to be completely honest. But
and the thing is, I remember one of my friends, that was his biggest thing, was he hates CG as a rule, which I think is kind of silly. But he also comes at it as, I remember, I saw it at a different showing than he did, and he came out of his showing, and we started talking about it on the phone. And he was livid about that scene, the sword fight scene in Blade's Lair, where he's like, "Oh my gosh, they looked absolutely terrible." And I was like, "It's good enough. I'm okay with it. It's fine." But he basically tapped out of the movie at that point. And the thing is, it kept using them, like the final fight between Nomak and Blade. There's practically there's anime style pro wrestling moves
exactly
in that final fight,
which is a weird choice.
This time I kind of liked, because it was, flying elbow coming off of a double helix sculpture. Yeah, it's kind of fun.
I never really had a problem with it. I know some people are like, this is ridiculous. I mean, I'll forgive the fight at the beginning in Blade's house, because there's so much cool stuff in there too. It starts off with this big sword fight kind of thing, which works really well, and there's just a couple shots here and there which are CGI'd, and it's, I don't know, I can forgive that.
Well, here's a big question for me, is for a very long time, and I've softened over the years, but one of the things that I really beat up on this movie over was the fact that it did like a recap of the first movie over the credits, including with narration. I've kind of hated that ever since Superman 2. Like all the way back in the day, where I'm like, there are other ways you could bring the audience up to speed than this. How do you feel about that opening credit sequence?
I'm okay with it here for a number of reasons. One, because I feel like I'm not obligated to watch the first one again. Two, because I think the way that it's done is stylized enough, and a big part of it I think is the music, where it's got some like cool like horn action going on, which is very reminiscent of sort of like the blaxploitation movies of the 70s.
That's a good point.
And that kind of like pushes me over the edge, and I'm okay with that stuff. The thing which I think is kind of weird, and I can't really fault them for it, but I think it's very bizarre when you start watching the movie, is they spend a good long chunk of time at the beginning of this movie retconning the fact that they killed Chris Christopherson in the first movie.
Yes, they sure do.
And they take a long time to get him back. And I thought that was a very bizarre choice, although I can't really fault them for it, because if you can get Chris Christopherson in your movie, you get Chris Christopherson in your movie.
I thought that it did take too long, but at the same time, I think that they constructed it in such a way, and like I'm ambivalent on the opening credit sequence now, but when he grabs the guy and he's going looking for Whistler, it's not such a bad thing in the sense that you get very familiar with his character again, with how he deals with problems, and so it plays okay for me. The decision to bring Whistler back, I mean, I said earlier, this is sort of what a sequel does. I mean, that was what a sequel has traditionally done through time, too, where it's like, hey, remember that character who was dead? They're not really dead. I mean, we even, recently talked about, over on Stage 9, we talked about Loaded Weapon 1, and there was a whole gag about it where John Lovitz comes in, and he's like, and everybody says, aren't you dead? And he's like, I thought this was the sequel.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's true. I mean, I guess I kind of forgive it here. I mean, I still think it's like, okay, they brought him back. That's weird. I don't quite see the logic behind him not being dead. He's only mostly dead, I guess. But, but, it's, they use it in the plot. There's a whole thing where it's like, for one thing, Blade has a new assistant, and he plays a very big role, played by Norman Reedus, who's now, big time on The Walking Dead, and
the heartthrob on The Walking Dead.
Yeah, is that what he is? I didn't know that. And
I know that he's one of the untouchable characters, because there are people where if they kill Norman Reedus on, I can't even remember his name now. It's been so many years since I watched it. Do you remember? Whatever.
No,
but basically, if they kill Norman Reedus's character on The Walking Dead, they will lose easily 75% of their remaining audience.
Isn't that is he the character where I see all the T-shirts where it's like, if what's his name dies, we riot?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a meta thing going on.
He carries the crossbow and
yeah.
Okay.
Well, yeah. He's he wouldn't be there if Whistler wasn't dead and then alive again, and
right.
He plays an integral part in this movie. It's not just like the scrappy sidekick. He plays a really big role in the story, but also they really sort of play with the idea of like, we're not sure that we can trust Whistler this time around because he might be a vampire, and that I think works really well too. So
I have my question here, because we've had many legendary disagreements about the wonderful idea to bring Darth Maul back on the Clone Wars and later Rebels. And if you can come to terms with and be at peace with Whistler coming back because it worked well and the storyline was good and all of that, why still the problems with Darth Maul coming back?
Well, two things. First off, I mean, as much as we would like to think and pretend that all Star Wars is equal, it's not. And the fact that Darth Maul has been brought back in this secondary medium in a similar way to Agent Coulson on, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and the fact that we will never see Darth Maul up on the big screen ever again, like that.
Are you sure? Are you sure he's not Snoke?
Yes, I'm sure he's not Snoke.
So am I.
Okay.
But I just wanted to float that out there for
Okay, all right. That's just, that's part of it. It feels like this is secondary and cheap, and it feels like especially with the way Darth Maul's arc theoretically ends, it felt like a long way to go to get back to where we were at the beginning. Especially hearing Dave Filoni talk about it at the Rebels panel at Celebration, where he's like, spoilers for that random episode of Rebels, I guess. He's like,
it's not really.
After going through all of this stuff, it felt like, Darth Maul being killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi was one of Obi-Wan Kenobi's defining characteristics, and when you bring Darth Maul back to life, you essentially take away a big part of what makes Obi-Wan Obi-Wan. It's part of his lore, like in-universe lore. Like, he's the guy who killed the Sith, the Sith dude and everything, and now he's not dead, right? And it sounds like Filoni felt kind of guilty about that, as he probably should. And
he shouldn't feel guilty about it, because it is a
okay, but
it's a magnificent storyline that he occupies.
Okay.
Once you have that first episode where you're like, wait, he's still alive.
Okay.
And then it gets going, and he's possessed by that whole thing about killing Kenobi and everything. It's pretty awesome.
But then, like Filoni says, you are definitely taking away something from Obi-Wan Kenobi's character. Him being alive means that Obi-Wan Kenobi did a bad job at killing that. He didn't do that thing which people think he's so cool for doing.
No, but that at the same... the thing is, I could talk it to death, but at the same time, I think that there's to speak to the whole idea of balance, I think he's just saying that it becomes an inevitability that Obi-Wan's the only guy that can kill him, because his death in a story sense belongs to Obi-Wan.
Well,
that's having Darth Maul make it out of Rebels and say go into post Return of the Jedi timeline, that doesn't work, because to have him killed by anybody else is really anticlimactic. He's almost like a ghost that won't stop haunting Obi-Wan, and Obi-Wan's the only one that can exorcise him.
That's sort of what Filoni was saying. He was saying that he felt it was wrong to basically let anyone other than Kenobi kill Darth Maul. To me, the way that I see that whole storyline playing out is it's a one-sided relationship where Darth Maul is like, I hate you, Obi-Wan, because you cut me in half and threw me down a hole. And Obi-Wan is kind of like, wait, who were you again?
No, not at all. That's not how he is at all. That's not how he is at all.
I honestly don't remember. Do they even see each other on the Clone Wars?
Are you kidding me? They fight
did they?
Several times.
Of course, because it's the Clone Wars.
Maul
fought
becomes
they fought like 15 times because it's the Clone Wars. Yes.
Okay. Listen here, smart Alec. Clone Wars is a great series, and the whole Darth Maul thing is great.
Okay.
And it is. It's so much fun. It's so much an example of whimsy and bringing a beloved character back.
It's definitely an example of whimsy. I'll say that. Yes.
And saying to the fans, you know what, you love this character, so I'm going to bring them back, which is just like Whistler in Blade 2. Whistler made the first Blade movie work. Blade 2 works with Whistler in it. There's no Whistler in Blade Trinity, and Blade Trinity stinks on ice. Okay, that's no accident.
Sometimes if you love something, you have to let it go. But look, here's the thing, right? This is, I guess, this is the other side of it. The other side of it is, if it were up to me, I would not have brought Whistler back either. Okay, I'm happy when he's there, but at the same time, you can say that they built up all this stuff with Darth Maul or whatever and everything, but Darth Maul basically like aside from being a guy who had like a double-sided lightsaber, there was nothing about him. It's not like this was like some sort of like extremely deep character. He's a guy who says that at last, they'll reveal themselves to the Jedi, and at last they'll have their revenge. And it's like killing him. It's not like we're like episode 2 can't work without Darth Maul, but also, I mean, here's the other thing about this whole thing, which I think is the reason why I give it so much crap, because like I oftentimes think like, they're like, is Boba Fett dead or is he not? I'm like, yes, he's dead. We saw him fall into the thing and then the thing burped and he died. He's dead. Yes.
Yes, I agree with.
Now,
Boba Fett's done.
If they bring him back or whatever, am I going to have as big of a problem with it? I don't think so, because this is the other thing about it, which just, it sort of cracks me up. And it's the thing which I'm always like, why? Because I always bring it up. You probably know what I'm going to say, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
George Lucas made a point of changing the scene so that not only did he get thrown down the hole, but he also got chopped in half because he wanted the audience to be 100% positive that this guy was as dead as disco. And then he brought him back.
And then he brought him back because why not?
Because,
because he wanted to. And that's fine.
Because he wanted to add another addition to the Skywalker
Seriously,
Ranch.
the sense of fun. No, please. The sense of fun that goes along with it is just like being a kid playing in your backyard. How many times did you resurrect somebody that like blew up in when you were playing with toys as a kid? Did you like completely play along to where if you killed one of your G.I. Joes or something like that, you were like, he was totally done? Did you ever bring anybody back while you were playing with your toys?
Yes, and that's why
they
didn't give me the keys to a multi-billion-dollar franchise, because it's a stupid idea.
It is not a stupid idea. It is not a stupid idea at all. You're so wrong on this. It hurts, man.
All right.
All right.
It hurts almost as much as getting chopped in half and being thrown down a hole. But you'll be okay.
He didn't hit the bottom.
You'll be okay.
That's how he got away.
He didn't hit the bottom?
He didn't hit the bottom.
So what did he do? Did he just
actually, in the official lore of everything. Look,
I want to hear this now.
The short version of it is magic. Okay.
Yes, we've discussed magic on Trekked Out.
The dark side magic kept him alive. Yeah. Okay, you're inhabiting a universe.
Right. The dark
where
side
there are
magic
Jedi.
did keep him alive. That's very meta of them. But anyway,
basically, and he fell. He fell, and there was he wound up grabbing on to something and not going all the way down the pit. And he actually says in the episode where they bring him back, they're like, how are you still alive? He's like, I don't know. He's like, I don't know how I got here. Because when they find him, he's attached to a spider body, a robot spider body. And he's like, I don't know. And he's like completely insane.
Yes.
And it's crazy good. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
The payoff was worth everything. Just like watching Donnie Yen in Blade 2 didn't drop any hint of Chirrut Imwe, except for the fact that Donnie Yen's awesome, and because
there were some sword fights and everything where I was like, oh, this is very cool and similar in style to Rogue One. If
I were to have any sort of like I don't know voiced regret about Blade 2, it's that the way they polish off Donnie Yen's character is so abrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was totally digging the character of Snowman, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, and he's dead. And it's like he doesn't even get a good death scene out of it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, wait, what? Like, all of a sudden he's just dead.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, well, that's kind of bad.
A lot of the other Blood Pack members do get cool deaths, but yeah, Donnie Yen, he's kind of lacking.
Yeah, and I don't know why they would make such a decision. But long story short, I think we both recommend Blade 2. Yeah?
Yeah, for sure. I love it. Definitely the best of the Blade movies.
I don't know. I'm gonna go back and watch the original, but I am tempted to agree with you at this point, simply on the strength of the ending. I just think the ending is so much better than the original Blade.
Yeah,
that it just works better.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna just throw this out there because whatever it is, but I actually think that Blade Trinity is a very good movie, and
You're
I think
insane.
that it's better than the first
You are
one.
you're just like broken in the head insane.
Like I
There's
went
just
to
no
I went to
saving
like
you at
one of
this
those
point.
like, well, it was like a, you got passes from like the school newspaper, to like an early screening at Piper's Alley, which is that's the Darth Maul coming back to life of movie theaters. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was, oh my God, the worst place to watch a movie. And I remember like coming out of it, like this was, like maybe like 5 days before the movie came out. And I remember coming out of the theater thinking like, that movie was really good. That holds up, next to Blade 2. And, I can see like, this is going to be something that critics like as well, And then the review, and then I think I was with Max. I think I saw it with Max, and he's like, "That movie was terrible." I'm like, "What are you talking about? It was so
Max
cool."
is right.
And he's like,
Max
"That
is
movie was
correct.
garbage." I'm like,
Yes.
And he was a huge fan of Blade too. And I'm like, what's the thing? And I mean, there's a lot of stuff that I like in there. I like, Jessica Biel and Ryan Reynolds and, all them and everything, Patton Oswalt and Natasha Lyonne and everything. I thought
Ryan Reynolds has one of my favorite on-screen insults that I've ever heard that we dare not repeat on this show. But Blade Trinity is a garbage movie, but when he utters that insult, I laugh. I laugh out loud every time I even think of it.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I don't know. I like that movie. I do. I think the Dracula thing is a bit cheesy, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I know I'm on the outside on that one, but
I came around on Blade 2. I am not budging on Blade Trinity.
Okay,
I can
fair
promise
enough.
you that.
Fair enough.
I can promise you that. But another thing that I can promise you is that if you want to interact with the show, you can go over to nerdparty.com/contact and look up the show and drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. Or you can reach out to us through the official Twitter handle @JoinNerdParty. That's where you can reach all of the shows. Use the hashtag GreatShotKid, and we'll pay special attention to that if you want to reach out to us. And that's where they can reach us on the official Nerd Party channels, except, I forgot, Facebook.com/The Nerd Party. You can reach us over there as well. And Mike, where can they reach you online?
You can find me on Twitter @Mumbles3K. You can also find me on CommentaryTrackStars.com, where I do a show called Commentary Track Stars. And you can find me on TalkFilmSociety.com doing a show called Soderbergh 2828. And you can find me on Trek.fm doing a show called Stage 9, where we talk about the people who make Star Trek along with John.
That's right. And just yesterday, in terms of show release, we were talking about American Gods by Brian Fuller.
Mm-hmm.
And so go ahead and check out Stage 9 over on Trek.fm. We would appreciate that as well. You can find me also here on the Nerd Party Network co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, a Star Wars podcast with Matthew Rushing, and co-hosting Words with Nerds with my pal Craig, where we do crazy, zany things every week, whereas there's no script and absolutely no sense of planning or expectation. It's pretty insane.
That's usually for the best.
It usually is. It usually is. We need to be free like a bird.
Yeah.
I think somebody sang a song about that at one time. But they never sang a song about Kessel Junkie, who is roaming around notoriously on the internet from time to time. So thank you for joining us here on Great Shot Kid. Join us next week on Great Shot Kid, where we go to the Joss Whedon-verse and, more importantly, a film featuring Alan Tudyk, who brought to life K2SO in Rogue One, Serenity.